We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Women's Swimming and Diving Through the Decades. Tonight, we've got an outstanding group of former swimmers for you, the decade of the 2000s, and we've got a great group joining current head coach Dan Schinnerer and one of our current student athletes, Maggie Wangowski. She's a senior. She's one of our most versatile swimmers. Obviously, she does the IM, but she's a free back and breast specialist, and she's from, and I hope I get this right, Maggie, Niskayuna, New York. I hope that was close, but that's where she's from, and we're thankful to have her on the show tonight. My name is Todd Newcomb, and I want to thank Geisinger for sponsoring tonight's event. Geisinger has done a great job throughout the pandemic, and as always, they do a great job with our student athletes day in and day out here at Bucknell. So let's get right to it. I've got a great guest list to introduce, and I'm going to start with the most mature of our alums from the class of 2001, and that's Molly Lowe. And I'm going to use maiden names tonight so that as Bucknellians, you will probably recognize that name more so than any other one, more so than a married name. So we'll go with those. So Molly Lowe, class of 2001. She was the team captain during the 2000-2001 season. She's one of the most versatile swimmers in school history. She swam every contestable event except the mile, so 13 in total. She won the Patriot League individual title in the 400 IM in 1999. Got an echo going there somewhere. She was a four-time All-Patriot League selection, becoming the seventh woman in league history to do so at the time. She won the Kathy Frazier and Margaret Grinnell Award as the team's most outstanding female swimmer twice during her career, and she won the Christy Mathewson Award at the Athletic Department's Senior Awards Dinner. Our next guest from the class of 2004 is Megan Fries. Megan was the team captain during the 2003-2004 season. She graduated with the school records in both the 50 and 100 free and still ranks second in the 50 free today. She was a five-time individual Patriot League champion, including 3 times in the 50 free and twice in the 100 free. She was also a member of 3 Patriot League Championship gold medal relay units. She was a 3-time All-Patriot League selection. She won the program's Robert A. Latour Award in 2004, and she was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2016. Our next guest from the class of 2005 is Daniella Foss. She will forever own the Fries Rook pool record in the 500 free. As anybody who follows Bucknell swimming knows, Fries Rook was the previous pool, no longer exists. That record board has been closed off for good, and Daniella has her name etched on there forever in the 500 free. She graduated with school records in both the 1000 and 1650 freestyle events. She's currently 8th all time on each of those lists. She won the Patriot League individual titles in the 50 free in 2002 and the 400 IM in 2004. Daniella was also a member of the Patriot League Championship, winning 800 free relay units in both 2003 and 2004, and she was a 4-time All-Patriot League selection. Our next guest from the class of 2005 as well is Jackie Feinkel. She was the team captain during the 04-05 season. She will forever own the Fries Rook pool record in the 1,000 free. She won the Patriot League individual title in the 200 fly in 2004, and she was a 2-time All-Patriot League first-team selection and was also a second-team selection during her career. Our next guest, also from the class of 2005, is Jamie Flick. She was the team captain during the 04-05 season as well. She will forever own the Fries Rook pool records in both the 100 and 200 breaststrokes. She graduated with the school records in both the 100 and 200 breast and is currently ranked 6th and 8th respectively on those all-time lists. Jamie won the Patriot League individual title in both the 100 and 200 breaststrokes in 2003. She was a member of 5 Patriot League championship winning relay units and was a 2-time All-Patriot League first-team selection and an All-Patriot League second-team selection as well. Our next guest from the class of 2006, Lectie Altman. She was team captain during the 05-06 season. She graduated with the school records in both the 100 and 200 breaststroke and 200 free, and as part of a school record relay unit in the 200 and 400 medley relays. She was a 5-time individual Patriot League champion, including 3 times in the 200 back. She was also a member member of 5 Patriot League championship winning relay units. She received the Patriot League's High Point Award as the top career scorer in the class of 2006. She was an All-Patriot League first team selection all 4 years, and Lechty was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2017. Our next guest from the class of 2007 is Becca Schechter. She was at the time of her graduation, she ranked 3rd on the all-time 100 free list behind Hall of Famers Margaret Grinnell and Megan Fries, and she currently ranks 9th on that list today. She was selected at the Patriot League Swimming and Diving Scholar Athlete of the Year in 2005. She was chosen as an academic all-district second team selection in 2006 and was a 3-time All-Patriot League first team selection. And our final guest from the class of 2010 is Courtney Warren. She was a team captain during the 09-10 season. She graduated with the school record in the 100 back and currently sits 3rd on that all-time list. She graduated as a member of 3 school record relay units. She was an ECAC individual champion in the 100 back in both 2009 and 2010. She earned All Patriot League first team honors twice and All Patriot League second team honors twice. She competed at the World Championship Trials in Indianapolis in the summer of 2009. She was selected as a Patriot League Swimming and Diving Scholar Athlete of the Year in 2010, and she won the program's Robert A. Latour Award in both 2009 and 2010. So Dan, I need some oxygen. I'm turning it over to you. Outstanding group we've got tonight.
It certainly is, and there's a lot of achievements there and certainly a lot of great individual accolades. And so we won't fault you because you had a lot to say that you made Lechty a breaststroker in the announcement. You seemed a little confused. Don't worry, Lechty, we know you were a backstroker. But that was a mouthful to get through, so we'll give Todd a little leeway on that. And certainly this is a group that not only accomplished a lot individually, but accomplished a lot with their teams during this time. And so it's not a surprise that we have such a big group given the team accomplishments during this decade. And we're really excited to look back, to share those memories, to talk about what it was like and to pass on some lessons. But before we start looking back, we're going to go around and just ask everybody to give us a quick update on where you're at right now. And so what we mean by that is where you're at geographically, where you're at with your career, what's going on with family, what's going on in your life. And so whatever you feel is relevant, even we've had people talking about what they're doing with their swimming right now, whether that's not at all or 5 times a week. So kind of whatever you feel is good to update us, and we'll go through that. And so we'll go kind of in order of seniority, and we'll start with Molly. You can give us your update.
Can everyone hear me with AirPods? Is that okay? Good. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Rooney, obviously. I currently live in Pennsylvania in Bucks County in the Holland, Newtown area. I'm married and I have 2 kids. My oldest is 11 and my youngest is 9. I'm a high school counselor. I spent years teaching, got my certification in some drug and alcohol counseling, but currently right now I'm working at a high school in New Jersey. I did coach there for years until I had my son swimming, which was a really great experience to get back into coaching afterwards. But currently I'm just a hockey mom and a swim mom. So my daughter has taken a liking to swim, which is great. But I definitely lost my son to ice hockey. So, but it's fun to be a fan. And I hope to maybe get back to coaching later on.
Thank you. And I guess it's still water, even if it is frozen water.
Exactly.
All right. Meg, you're up next.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I am currently living in Glen Rock, Pennsylvania, about 7 minutes from where I grew up. After graduating from Bucknell, I attended 4 years of veterinary school. I actually went to the Grenada West Indies in the Caribbean and got my degree. I met my husband on my 4th year of my clinical rotations at NC State. We have 2 kids. My daughter, Lily, she is 8, and my son, Sawyer, he is 6. Both of them swim on the swim team. I'm not really sure what stroke they'll be doing. He's kind of trying to make it to the end of the pool at this point. So I work as a small animal veterinarian part-time, and the other part-time I care for my family, and I also train for Ironman. So I am swimming. I do about 3 to 4 swims a week. So hoping to swim the DC Marathon in October. It's about 20 miles.
All right, well, that's definitely a fair amount of swimming there. I think
Yeah.
we've got some people on our team right now that would be hard given all the shutdown to get 20 miles in. So best of luck with that.
Yeah, it's hard.
All right, Daniela, you're up next.
Thank you. So after graduating, I went to Iowa State University to receive my PhD in mechanical engineering. And then I'm currently an assistant professor and the director of lab and fabrication operations at Olin College, which is a small engineering school. But we're doing a lot of hands-on project-based engineering, which is just really fun, but very strange in COVID times because you actually can't do that stuff right now. So it's been a challenge, but we're plodding through it. I currently live outside of Boston with my partner and my 3-year-old daughter and the dog who's asleep at the couch. And no swimming for me these days, unfortunately.
Well, that's fair. You did a lot in your time. So thank you. Jackie, you're up next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Jackie. I live in Macungie, Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley area, so not too far from Bucknell still. I'm a clinical reporting analyst for Chamberlain University. It's a college of nursing. And I'm married to another former Bucknell alumni swimmer of class of 2005, Jake Tiemann. And we have 3 sons, 8, 6, and 3. And my older 2 are currently swimming, Middle Atlantic swimming, and I'm becoming an official. So I'm taking that route as the swim mom official role now. So it's been fun.
That's great. I know at least my parents felt like when they actually got there officiating, they felt like they got to do more at a swim meet, as we've all, rather than sitting there for 5 hours waiting for your son or daughter to swim for a couple of minutes, they felt like that was a more productive use of time. So that's great.
Exactly.
All right, Jamie, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I am living in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, which, like Jackie said, is not too far from Bucknell. I am a technology trainer at the Central Columbia School District. So I work predominantly in the elementary and the middle school, training the staff on various applications and programs that were initiatives at the school. I have 2 little boys. Matthew is 7 and Benjamin is 6. They wrestle and play soccer, and we'll be starting baseball. So we're not into swimming, but hopefully down the line, that's in their future. I was coaching. I coached actually for the Lewisburg swim team shortly after I graduated from Bucknell. And then I moved a little bit closer to home and coached my home team. But once I had the kids, I stopped coaching to spend some more time with them. I'm also currently pursuing a doctorate in curriculum and instruction. So that's taking up a lot of my free time right now. And I hope that in the next 2 years, I'll have that finished and I can consider a career in higher ed down the line.
Great, thank you. All right, Lecty, you're up next.
Hi, it's Lexi. I am in Hawaii, on Oahu and Honolulu. Have been here since 2009. I am currently a real estate agent, and I also am a behavioral health specialist in a middle school, so counseling for special ed kids. I live here with my boyfriend, Scott, and I have been dabbling in some swimming for the past, couple of year and a half. Got into some channel swimming last summer, and that's what I'm doing.
Great, thank you. All right, Becca, you're up next.
All right. So after Bucknell, I went into teaching, and I taught all 3 grades in middle school and high school language arts. And then I have 3 kids. So when I had my first 2, I stepped away from teaching and got more into teaching swimming part-time. So I did a lot of teaching from babies all the way through adults, private lessons, and really found my niche with the pre-swim team, working with developing the 4 strokes for kids to pass their tryout. I did that for many years. And then right before the shutdown, about 2 weeks before, I had a baby. I had my 3rd child, my daughter, Susie. So I've been home with the kids with the virtual school and the baby. So this year right now, because the swim school is kind of operating at a different level of staff. But I'm loving it. I love being home with the kids. So that's where I'm at right now.
Great, thank you. And rounding out our great panel, Courtney.
Hi, I'm living in Southern Pennsylvania in Chambersburg. I'm a statistical analyst for the state of Pennsylvania. We do public reporting on the hospital systems. So a lot of COVID analysis going on these days. Yeah, I live down here with my husband and 2 dogs. No kids yet. I think that's in the somewhat near future, but I am pushing for a 3rd dog. So who knows what's going to come first.
Great, thank you. And so thanks for the update. And now we get to the fun part where we get to look back to your time at Bucknell. And our first question revolves around how you got to Bucknell. And recruiting is certainly something that has evolved a lot in my time at Bucknell. And through the years, it seems to get earlier and earlier these days. And in the last year, it's all gone online. And so we live in a very strange time where recruiting is being done through venues like this. And we've had some young men and some young women make commitments to Bucknell without ever actually putting foot onto campus. Hopefully we'll move out of that and get back to some of the good old traditional kind of recruiting, but we would love to hear what your path was to Bucknell, what the recruiting process was like for you. And in some cases, maybe it wasn't that much recruiting. Maybe it was more a college search process that led you there. And then ultimately what made you decide on Bucknell. And so for this one, we'll go in the same order, and Molly, you get to start us out.
Interestingly enough, I went on my recruit trip in September, Bucknell, and I had my heart set on my quote unquote dream school that was a name school. And so I kind of went to Bucknell on a whim. And then I had an amazing weekend there. And I also couldn't drive. I was too young to drive. So my parents were in a hotel when I was on campus, which was kind of strange. And then they showed up at the meet and everything. But the older swimmer who I swam with, she was from Texas. And to me, that was just so interesting to meet someone from so far away who was having such a great experience there. And that really just sold it for me, that she felt like it was another home. The team was such a family. Lynn Kaczmarek actually was the coach at the time. And so she was very similar to what I was used to at home, which was a female coach that was like a family, that I always was on the same team. And so I connected with her right away. And there was this promise of this brand new pool coming down the pike, which never happened. And I ended up at that ceremony digging the dirt in my senior year and making a speech and never swimming in that pool myself. But there was that promise at the time that was going to occur as well. So just felt like it was a family, and that was what I was used to. I never swam on any other team other than the team I grew up with since I was 6 years old, and that's what I was looking for. And I immediately felt that, and so I knew Bucknell was the place for me.
That's great, thank you. I know it's been interesting going through for both the men and the women these decades, and basically it seems like somewhere in the early 70s, everybody was starting to be promised a new pool. And I know this group, at least for the most part, saw the fruition of that, but it definitely seemed to be a long time promise. We're sorry you didn't get to quite swim in it, Molly, but I know everybody else did. So
I dug some of the dirt for everybody else, right? So that's how I look at it.
You did your part.
I did my part, right?
Megan, you're up next.
So I remember my recruiting trip like it was yesterday. It really didn't take me a lot of convincing to want to go to Bucknell. The moment I stepped foot on the campus, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the team, the coaches, the people, the atmosphere. I had literally the best weekend ever. And I think it was more of convincing Jerry Foley that I was good enough to swim on the team, because I was a sprinter and I had the ugliest stroke you have ever seen. And my dad actually had to talk to him to try and convince him to let me on the team. So, but I knew right away, there was no other school that I wanted to go to.
Well, that's great, and good for us and good for Jerry that your dad convinced him, because it's certainly, I think, for everybody involved.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Daniela, you're up next.
Yeah, so actually my recruiting trip, I actually ended up staying with the women's water polo team. I think the swim team was either traveling but in either case, I ended up staying with actually one of the goalkeepers. So that was a pretty fun weekend. I actually didn't get to interact a whole lot with the swim team, but it didn't really matter because it felt right. And so for me, there's a couple of factors that really played into choosing Bucknell. And the first was the financial aid package. For an international student, that was kind of hard to come by. So the fact that Bucknell was this generous, really, really helped. And plus with the engineering program, there's very few schools that have the type of athletics and the type of academics. So that was a pretty easy decision for me to go to Bucknell.
Thank you. Yeah, that's certainly, it's a good recruiting pitch right there. So I think it's what brings a lot of people. Jackie, you're up next.
Hi, so yeah, my recruiting experience, I think, was a little different. My brother was a sophomore on the team when I was looking at college. So I'd been to Bucknell swim meets, I'd been to the campus. So I kind of knew that's where I wanted to go, but I did go on a recruiting trip. And kind of like everyone else said, it just felt like home. It felt comfortable. I actually had the ability to stay with one of my former teammates that I was swimming with, who's 1 year older than me at Bucknell. So it really felt like home. I kind of got that feel, like Molly was saying, and it kind of just solidified. I knew, academically and athletically, it was a good fit, and I was really comfortable there. So it's kind of an easy decision.
Yeah, that's great. And that's been another trend I think we've seen on a lot of these decades call. And I think it's a trend at Bucknell. If one member of the family's at Bucknell, it tends to just start a chain reaction, which I think is a testament to the school. And so, Jamie, you're up next.
Well, I didn't even have Bucknell on my radar until a family friend who swam on my club team said, "Hey, you should think about Bucknell." And she was a Lewisburg resident, and her kids swam with Coach Foley's kids. And I was like, "Oh, I can't do that. There's no way. I'm not going to stay this close to home." And so I wasn't really that enthusiastic about my visit. And I actually only had a one-night visit because I was ruling it out. But when I got there, I fell in love, and I met Jackie, and I had a great trip. My host was wonderful. My host was actually a girlfriend of someone who I met on another recruiting trip, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just stay with her," And then as soon as I met this person and I met the team, I gave up on that other school, and I was focused on Bucknell. And like everybody else said, the academics, the athletics, and that promise of the new pool really sold it for me. So as soon as I got there, and as soon as I met the team and met Coach Foley, I knew that I was doing a complete 180 and going in a different direction.
That's a great story. Thank you. Lecty, you're up next.
So in high school, I grew up in Central New York and had no idea what Bucknell was, where Bucknell was, but remember my father asking for Christmas one year, like, "I need to get a Bucknell hat," and we had no idea what it was. We searched all over to find this like baseball cap for him, and then junior year he had convinced me to drive down to go see the school, and I had no interest, zero interest in going to see this school in Pennsylvania. Like, it wasn't going to happen. We got there, and I knew the second I got there, before I went on a recruiting trip, before I did anything, I've never seen a campus as beautiful as Bucknell, and it never felt so safe and like home on a college campus. And then my senior year, I went on my recruiting trip, but also went to the last swim meet that they had in Fraysbrook. And I think you guys swam Colgate. I still have the orange towel that they were giving away from that meet, and my boyfriend uses it as like a trainer sweat towel right now, but like still have it. went on my recruiting trip and stayed with Trisha Rado. And I just knew the second I got there, just kind of like Jackie and Molly said, that it just felt like family, and it was safe, and it was fun, and I had a really good time. And the recruiting trip solidified it. I applied early decision, and that was that.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Becca, what was your path?
So when I started looking at schools for swimming, I came from a team that was pretty low level. I hadn't done a lot of weightlifting or, a lot of double practices, never. I hadn't done a lot of things like that. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I really wanted to swim Division I. I was looking at Division I or Division III and really wanted to challenge myself. And I remember coming to Bucknell and really feeling like Jerry Foley looked at what I had done up until then and what my potential was to do. And he really saw that in me and was interested in me coming there. And the other thing I liked about Bucknell, of course, was my recruiting trip. I did feel the same thing, echoing what all of you have said, just the family dynamic. It was a spring recruiting trip. I was slow making a decision, but I felt really comfortable on that weekend that I spent there. But really what was kind of the icing on the cake, or what really got me, was the new pool. So I loved the facility. It was gorgeous. I figured if I had to swim back and forth for 4 years, I want to do it right here in this beautiful new pool. So that was my reasons for choosing Bucknell.
Yeah, and I think, these many years later, that same logic holds true. And so Kinney Natatorium has held up because that logic of, hey, if I got to spend that much time in a pool, it might as well be this one, is still something that sells our recruits even currently. And so I think another one that had a spring visit, Courtney, tell us your story.
Yeah, I don't think I was a typical recruiting story. I kind of was all over the place my senior year of high school. I applied to, I think, about 8 different schools all over the country. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to try to swim Division I. I knew of Bucknell because I'm from Central New York as well. And every time we would drive south for spring break, we'd pass right by Bucknell. And that's when I stopped by for that campus visit. So I got to meet Jerry Foley. I didn't do a recruiting trip, but it was my spring break when I made the decision my senior year. And, just being on campus, like everyone has said, it's a beautiful campus. Everyone was just so welcoming. And I did get lucky in the weekend that I went. It was like an incoming freshman weekend. So I did end up meeting some of my future teammates just on a whim. But I'm glad I made that last minute decision, but it was very last minute.
And once again, it worked out for everybody involved. So thank you for everyone for sharing your path to Bucknell. At this point, I'm going to kick it over to Maggie. Just a quick reintroduction. Maggie is one of our senior captains, certainly fits in pretty well with this star-studded group, though she's too modest to probably say it herself, so I will do her bragging for her, in that she is a Patriot League individual event champion and currently holds 3 school records in both the IMs and the 200 breaststroke. But even though she's accomplished, certainly looking for advice and words of wisdom from you guys. And so I will turn it over to Maggie for her question.
Hi, everyone. So what advice would you give me or any of the other athletes that are in our program today about the college swimming and diving experience at Bucknell? And I'm going to go in a little bit of a different order. So Jackie, you can start.
Sure. Hi, Maggie. Nice to meet you. My advice would be to you is to enjoy your successes, but then move on from your disappointments. Because the things we remember today, or at least I think we'll get there. I remember a lot from the days in the pool and, like Becca said, swimming up and down and all that, and the hours we spent. But honestly, what I remember is the relationships, the bonds we formed and all that. So enjoy every success you have. You work hard for it and you earn it. But if you have a disappointment, move on quickly, because there's so much more coming your way.
I like that. Courtney, you can go next.
Yeah, I think just echoing what she said, just cherish every moment that you have in that pool, because even though, your 4 years are almost up and they seem like they're taking, I don't know if Dan still does the countdown to Patriots on the top of the of the practices every day. And, some days it can seem like it's going to take forever to get through a set, but those are truly the bonds that you make with those people while you're going up and down the pool are lifelong, and no one else is going to have the same experience that you guys have together. And it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, he does do the countdown still. Okay, Daniella, you can go next.
I think there's tough days in practice, right? And then there's better days. And I think just holding on to that, because there's ups and downs in life, and just realizing that, even if you have a couple of bad days or a couple of bad weeks, it doesn't define you as a person, rather use that as a springboard almost to, keep moving forward. And it's sort of hard to see that in the moment, but having that attitude of, I can do this, I can get through this set, I can get through life challenges, I think is a really good mentality to have.
Yeah, I feel like I've realized that as I've gotten older in swimming too, and especially nearing the end of my swimming career. But yeah. Meg, you can go next.
So my advice is, college is for the best years of your life. It will change you. It'll help you to discover who you are. So really relish those 4 years, soak up every single moment, because they go really fast. But if I had to say one thing, I'd say believe in yourself. So you are what you're going to make of this experience. Your coaches brought you there because they saw your potential and they really believed in you. So really just believe in yourself, and just every workout, don't just do the workout, go above and beyond, and just really tap into that desire, just to be the best you that you can be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I've had some troubles in my past believing in myself, and then once you do, it just makes it so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah. All right, Molly, you can go next.
I think I'm going to, echo what everyone said in terms of just, the relationships that you form and really cherishing them. I think now, as I look back on my experience at Bucknell and swimming for 4 years in a Division I program, I'm really just proud of myself that I made it through 4 years. It's one of my proudest accomplishments that I've had. So I think what I would advise everyone to do that's in the program is to stay present, set goals for yourself along the way so that you stick it out, because it is a long journey. And I think with swimming, a lot of times you can get into your own head and wondering, if you can still accomplish what you accomplished the year before, or the swim before, or the meet before that. So if you can just stay present and be mindful in that situation and be your best that day. I just feel like at the end, this prize of being a Division I athlete for 4 years and making it through and having this experience that's just unlike anything else, you'll just be so thankful for it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Jamie, you can go next.
Well, I feel like I'm repeating everything that everybody's already said, but it's very easy to get caught up in your, the current state, and practices are hard, classes are hard, exams are coming up. And if you can just relish that and enjoy that and persevere, you will be well prepared for the future. And I say, I draw a lot of what I'm doing right now and just my current experience on what I did at Bucknell and what I learned at Bucknell. So my best advice is don't get caught up in, all of the silly things. Keep a level head, stay focused, and you'll be set for the future.
Yes, that's very good advice. Thank you. Lecty, you can go next.
Going toward the end is so hard. I think I really agree with everything that everyone else has said, but the 4 years that you will spend at Bucknell on any kind of a team, but especially the swim team, are going to be the best 4 years of your life. It may be the longest 4 years of your life sometimes, but it will also be the shortest, and you'll never get to have those experiences again in your life. And I find myself now when, getting together with my best friends who I made at Bucknell swimming, we wish that we could go back, and maybe not some of the things repeat again, but just cherish that time that you have there, because it's something that you'll never get to experience again.
Yeah, I actually live with a swimmer and a diver on the team, and being seniors, we've been talking about how we wish we could just go back to freshman year and experience it all over again. All right, Becca, you can go next.
Okay. Obviously, I'm going to echo a lot of what others have said, but I think really cherish the time that you spend with your team. Just the cheering, the excitement, the celebrating the successes of your teammates, kind of that dynamic together. You don't get that in the same way again in life. And just cherish every moment of that. And really, as other people have said, you want to dig in, do your best, be yourself, because it is an accomplishment that you will hold for the rest of your life, knowing I swam 4 years, Division I. It gives you kind of this confidence, this pride, this kind of almost inner peace inside that you've done that. And it's an accomplishment that you have forever. And it's just one of the best things that I've experienced in life. So just treasure that and enjoy it.
Yeah, well, thank you for your responses to that question. I think I'm gonna throw it back to Dan now.
Thanks, Maggie, and thanks for all those great pieces of advice. And the next question we have is definitely, in my opinion, the most fun one, because it's when you get into the stories and the experiences. And I realized with this group, given the accomplishments, the individual accomplishments, the team accomplishments, there could be some overlap in this, but as I was listening to the answers of that question of Maggie, it struck me that, in so many ways, it's not necessarily the accomplishment, but the people you were with building to that accomplishment. So even though you shared a lot of accomplishments across the screen here, I'm curious to hear these memories. And so again, the question is, what's your most memorable experience? I realize that you might have a lot. And so it doesn't have to be the most memorable. We'll go for one of the most memorable. And we'll kind of jump around a little bit on this again. So we'll go a little different order. Courtney, you get to start.
Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit and have two. I would say, as a team, I think the most contagious, most memorable moment that I remember was senior year at Patriots. We all 17 of us that were on the championship team had a swim on the last night, and we had a very close meet with Colgate, and we all had a silver cap to chase down that evening, and we ended up being victorious over Colgate, which we hadn't been the previous two seasons. And that was a goal that the team had made for itself at the beginning of the season, and it truly was a team accomplishment. And the celebration we had was a congregate celebration. We all achieved our personal best that evening, and just really fun way to end the full career with Bucknell and all those girls that I'd been swimming with for 4 years. As well, that previous summer, going to Indianapolis for World Championship trials was pretty neat. Dan's background being with Michigan swimming, we sat in the same section with the Michigan swimmers. So I met Coach Bowman and Coach Urbanchek, Michael Phelps, and that was just a really humbling way to end the last year of my swimming career. So that definitely sticks out.
All right, thank you, Courtney. And we'll jump to Molly. We'll go to the other end of the spectrum here on the call.
This was actually a really hard question for me to think about, in the sense that like we were talking about before, it's really a lot of the experiences that we had together just as a team. Some of the things that stood out to me is just when I was there, when we went down to Florida, we'd always do the Harvey set. I don't know if the Harvey set still exists, but everyone on the team did it. And when we had the Harvey set and we finished the Harvey set, it was just this feeling of accomplishment that we got through that part of the training trip. And we all kind of did a big collective sigh and really felt good about it. The other big memory that I have, which is kind of just really random and weird, but coming back from a Patriot League championship, we all swam our butts off and we did really well. And Jerry Foley really catapulted us into a whole other level in the Patriot League. I remember rolling down 7th Street in our parkas, and at 2 a.m, just being like so happy that we did so well and in the season, and the whole team, and being in those swim parkas. And so I'll never forget that either, where it was just such a random thing to be doing, but we got back to campus and we figured, why not? This is what we can do. So I'll always remember that.
That's great. Thank you. Megan, you can go next.
Okay, so I have 2 as well. So it was really hard to single out just one because Bucknell was my favorite 4 years. But I think the one that really strikes the most is breaking Margaret Grinnell's 12-year-old record in the 50 and the 100 free. She's someone that was on that record board since the moment I walked to Bucknell, and I had been just eyeing her up since I stepped foot on that campus. So that was just an amazing feeling for me. But as a team, it was helping Bucknell to the team title in the very first championship meet ever held in Kinney Natatorium. And that was the beginning of one of 4 straight Patriot League wins for the Bucknell women's swim team. And I was very, very honored to be a part of that team and swim beside these girls. Really honored. So.
Very nice. All right, and we'll go through some of those teammates on those championships teams. So Jamie, we'll have you go next.
Well, I think one of my fondest memories is walking into that new pool. I mean, the smell, the sounds, everything was just surreal. And I looked around and the lights were so bright and the lane lines were so, colorful. And I felt so fortunate to have that opportunity. And we, I think it was over Thanksgiving break that we switched from Freeze Rook into the Kinney Natatorium. And it took your breath away to walk in there, and like even to walk over to the new weight room. It was amazing. And we felt so fortunate to have that facility, and I'll never forget that. And a second one, kind of going along with the theme here, the Patriot League Championship, I think our junior year. And I just remember looking at Jerry Foley in his orange blazer and his jeans, where he would say that we're tough as denim, giving that fist bump, like, yeah, you got this. And it just makes you like swell with pride. So I think about that memory very fondly.
Very nice. Yeah, we're all very fortunate to have that facility. Jackie, you can go next.
Sure. Yeah. Well, one of mine that I wrote down to piggyback off of what Meg said, but was that Patriot Leagues my sophomore year. Our freshman year, we got second to Navy by just a few points. So it kind of was, looming over our heads a little bit, but we, I think we were leading a lot of the meet. It was a really strong performance and winning that title. But then when we turned and it came down to the last race or two, the men won as well. So it was just that camaraderie of the men's and women's team both winning that year. It was so much fun. Just like someone said earlier about the cheering and the excitement, you don't get that again in life. At least I haven't yet. So that was so exciting. Personally, that was not only a win for the women's team, and that was my brother's last meet. So it was just like, it was a big, kind of just a big celebration of everything. But having the women and the men win that season, that was probably one of my most memorable meets or times at Bucknell, in addition to many others.
Yeah, no, your male counterparts from this decade's call, many of them pointed to that kind of
I'm sure
program win that year as just being something that was definitely hard to top and will always stand out. Daniella, you can go next.
Yeah, I think that meet was just amazing. Like that sort of also stands out to me, because first time in a new pool at a championship, and you walk in and like the crowd, just like there's that atmosphere that it never again, right? So there's such an adrenaline push just walking to the bleachers and getting up on the starting block. That really stood out to me. And I think that the year before, that was the first year my parents actually came to a swim meet when I was in the States. So that meet also stood out to me. just because it was very special that my parents were able to come from Germany and see me swim, which they hadn't in, 5 years at that point. So that was also just super special to me in the middle of a snowstorm. So they made it to Navy. But yeah, that was, that meant a lot to me that they were able to come.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. We'll get out of chronological because we're bouncing around. So we'll actually go over to Becca.
I agree with some of the others. It's hard to boil down a moment from 4 years. There's so much that I remember fondly and enjoy thinking back to. But I would say one thing that really comes into my mind is the celebration upon winning the Patriot League championships at the Naval Academy. We all, push Jerry and jump in the pool in our, dry sweats. And I just remember like my jacket floating up behind me on the water and thinking like, this is amazing. We're so excited. I think that was maybe even my freshman year. It was also new and exciting. And just knowing that we all put in so much work together, and then to see everybody accomplish, best times and personal bests and everybody cheering on each other. That's something that I really treasure. The other thing I would say, just on a more personal note, is being the relay anchor and standing there on the blocks, watching the person swim in, just so exciting. Just you hear the cheering, and that was a million moments, not just one, but it's just a great memory.
Yeah, always performed well in that spot. All right, and Lecty, you get to round us out here.
I was going to say the same thing that Jackie said about the year when both the men's and women's team won Patriot League championship, but I guess I'll piggyback off of that and say winning the women's championship 4 years in a row was amazing. And it wasn't, swimming is a very individual sport, as we all know, but we couldn't have done that if everyone didn't come together and have that same goal as a team to win and be the best and do our best. And I think one thing that I remember from all of those 4 years that we did every single year, the night before we swam against Navy every year, we would do this, I forget what we called it, and maybe somebody can chime in if there was a name for it, but we did this like candle lighting where we passed around the candle and everybody kind of went over, their goals and what they wanted to do for the next day. And all the little things like that made our team so special and unique, and everyone was focused on the same team goal as well as their own individual goals is what I will remember.
That's great. And it was equally fun to watch you say that memory and watch Maggie nod along with that, because that is something that they still do. So that's great. Moving from experience that you remember most to teammate that you admired the most. Maybe another way to say it is a teammate that had the biggest impact on you during your 4 years. And so once again, we'll kind of jump around on this, but we'll let Molly go first.
I think for me, it's two separate individuals, or actually three total, but in terms of swimming, Jen Myers was a captain and a senior when I was a freshman, and she was an IMer and a backstroker, and I certainly looked up to her because she was an amazing swimmer and what she had accomplished. And also, like I said, that she had gotten through 4 years and continued that same drive and determination and spirit and positivity. So it was just a goal of mine to be able to follow in her footsteps and continue on in 4 years and see that improvement. I feel lucky enough that I had two captains for 2 years, Nicole Brandemarty and Kelly Wilson, who were the bestest of friends and the bestest captains for those 2 years. And I just think my experience at Bucknell, from hearing everyone else's stories, was different. I think I'm more of the old school person on this call. with the old pool and some of the old traditions that we had. And it just a smaller team at that they were captains because we had a smaller team then. And they really paved the way when Jerry came in my sophomore year, and welcoming him and making him part of our greater family. And that was such a smooth transition. So I'm so grateful that they were just such great leaders at the time. So those would be my three.
All right, thank you. Lechty, we'll have you go. You got to go last on the last. We'll get you going earlier on this one.
Oh boy, I had a hard time picking just one, but I guess I'm going to go back to kind of the reason and why I came to Bucknell. Trisha Rado made my recruiting trip phenomenal, and I think had I been with anyone else, I might have made a different decision, even though I know at the beginning of the call I said, I stepped on campus and knew that was the place for me. But the experience that I had with her kind of solidified this is where I want to be. But I also think that the atmosphere that Jerry Foley was able to create amongst both the men and women's team together as one unit is what I really, really loved about being at Bucknell. So I know he wasn't a teammate, but I do credit a lot of our success to the environment that he created.
Yeah, that's great. And certainly we've had, as we've done these, people reference teammates and coaches. So definitely fair game and a great answer. Courtney, you can go next.
I definitely struggled as well to pick just one. I think part of the reason, Bucknell felt like home was there wasn't a single person on the team that you didn't look up to in some way. But definitely being an injured freshman coming in and being a little shy and awkward. I mean, Becca was a big influence her senior year, kind of taking me under her wing. And, she was a great swimmer, but also had a great attitude and definitely made me feel welcome and a part of the team. Her class had such strong leaders, Kat Munson, Nikki Woodward. I was really fortunate with, the senior leadership when I first came on the team, and felt like my class mirrored that class in a way, because we had 10 women on the team by our senior year, a lot of strong leadership. So there's just so many people I could say.
Yes, if I recall, you came in with a knee injury and you went out with a knee injury in your 4 years at Bucknell.
Yeah, lots of ACL tears from being on a basketball court when I should just stick to swimming. So I've learned my lesson.
Fair enough. All right. Well, with that, we'll go to you, Becca. You can go next.
I want to echo what Courtney said, that there's just so many admirable teammates. It was hard to think of just one. I definitely do want to say Meg. When I joined the team, I was this kind of nervous, new, Division I was a big challenge for me, and she was just amazing, very tough and so fast. And I just wanted to, I thought to myself, could I ever be like that? And it was kind of a 4-year journey to try. So she was definitely an influence. And then it's too bad Kat isn't here. She was, my teammate, my, hard working buddy. We didn't swim the same events, so we weren't in competition with each other, but we would, spur each other on in just friendship. And she was just always there, always a friend, and always my medicine ball partner, who I would almost take out her head with the ball. But she was a great teammate too.
All right, thank you. And then another good transition there. We'll go to Megan.
So I had a lot of trouble with this question too, because I really did admire all of my teammates because they were all so dedicated. They worked so hard. They taught me friendship. They taught me teamwork, camaraderie. So it was really hard to single out one person because I just really looked up to all of them. But kind of piggybacking off of Lechty, a coach that really I admired was Judson. He was the one that took my ugly stroke and broke it down piece by piece. And I just remember him following me up and down the pool for hours, yelling at me. to fix something. And he just really made an impact on me. And I really just wanted to get better because he tried so hard. And then aside from that, I still looked up to former Bucknellian Margaret, just because of her accomplishments as well. So.
Thank you. Jamie, you can be next.
Well, I didn't pick one. I just my blanket statement here. Everybody, I drew from everybody and I admired everybody. And I could look over and watch Megan with Judson working on that stroke and thinking like, wow, look at the effort she's putting in. I need to do that for this team. And then I look back at Jackie in that nerd box, swimming back and forth, and thinking, look at how many yards she's doing. Like I need to put forth just as much effort. And I looked at all of these women and even the guys team, we trained right with them in the same lanes. And I wanted to be as good as I could be for them. So I don't have just one because they all brought so much out of me, whether it was, changing my attitude that day where I didn't want to get in the pool because it was cold, but Lecty jumped right in, so I had to go too. Or whether it was somebody who picked me up, when I was having a bad day. I drew from all of the athletes, men and women. So I couldn't pick just one because honestly, the whole Bucknell men's and women's swimming team inspired me.
That's a great answer. So we'll allow it. So thanks. Daniella, you can be next.
Yeah, same. I just had a really hard time picking individuals, but I think that's sort of the testament to the teams, right? That you have numerous people on this call essentially saying it was just this collective of individuals that added up to this amazing, not just championship, but just the friendships and everything about that team was just, there's a cohesion that I think the credit really goes to Jerry. And, I don't know how he did it, but he certainly knew how to mold these individuals into, some that's greater than their individual parts. So it's kind of unheard of to, have this many individuals just pull on the same strings.
All right. I sense a trend here. We'll see if Jackie keeps it going or if she's going to break the streak.
I'm going to break the streak.
All right.
But this was hard. I mean, I took some time. I was trying to think and kind of going off of what Lecty and Jamie both said. I viewed it as one team, the men's and the women's. That's what's so unique about swimming because we train in the same lanes. We train side by side. So I actually chose someone from the men's side who inspired me, which was Gonzo Diaz. I knew Gonzo before I came to Bucknell, but Gonzo's one of the hardest working people you'll meet. He would drive to Vetter Hall and pick me up Monday morning before distance practice to make sure I was safe getting there. He just took me under his wing. I trained in his lane with him and just watched how hard he worked. So he was inspiring to me and everyone in that distance group for sure. Just the work you put in, day out. So I chose Gonzo.
All right, a very good answer. Thank you. And so I know I was jumping around and I think in listening and reliving, I feel like I lost track. Did we hit everybody on that one? All right, well, good. Well, I know we have time for at least one more and perhaps two more questions. And so I'm gonna swing it back over to Maggie for her next question.
Hi again. What advice do you have about networking and finding the right job after Bucknell? We can start with Becca.
One thing I would say is throughout my life, no matter how far away I get from college years, if you mention I went to Bucknell, they know it. It has a great reputation, and you can have great confidence in knowing that you went to Bucknell, and you have that as a great way to start off any conversation with anyone who you're looking to, network with. So I would say it's a pattern throughout my life. You can just have confidence that you're at a great school and you have a great future ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Lecty, we can go with you next.
I had a really hard time with this question, and I think because I don't like to ask for help very much. but I think that and I'm also in Hawaii, and there actually is a small contingent of Bucknell alums in Hawaii. So utilize that wherever you end up, because you never know what they have to offer, and just, kind of connecting on your experience, even if they're, 20, 30 years older than you are, then we still have that same Bucknell experience to go off of. And as far as career advice, you will probably graduate, and the job you have when you graduate will likely not be the job you have when you retire. We constantly evolve as humans, so don't feel like just because this is the job you get when you graduate college that you have to stay in it for the rest of your life.
Thank you. We can go with Molly next.
Okay. I think I'm a little different again here, only because I went into education. But interestingly, I actually was an elementary ed major at Bucknell, but I also double majored in political science. So I ended up taking my first interview at a high school, and my swimming experience actually helped me because it was a high school that was close to where I grew up. So they had known me from that. But I would say that my experience at Bucknell really provided the foundation for me to feel confident going in there, working with high school juniors when I was fresh out of college from that experience, and then really has just catapulted me into other aspects of my career, like I said, in counseling and working with younger students all the way up through coaching, as well as in high school. So just the foundation that you get at Bucknell, I think, is really what's going to lead you to success in life. So I've been very grateful to have that experience as I've gone through my career.
Awesome, thank you. Jamie, you can go next.
Okay, so pretty much what the other lady said, just have confidence in the fact that you went to Bucknell, because people notice, and it's always something that I can, have a conversation with somebody about. And the Bucknell community is amazing, and it's vast, and you'll always find somebody who went to Bucknell, or who's, I was at the school when blah 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 happened. So there's just an amazing connection with Bucknellians and alumni, and it's just great. So have confidence in your school, be proud that you came from Bucknell, and it'll do a lot of good things for you.
Perfect, thank you. Meg, you can go next.
So admittingly, I didn't do a whole lot of networking because I knew when I went to college that I wanted to go to vet school after Bucknell. So I kind of knew my track. But I would say, if I could give you an advice about finding the right job while you're at school, really find a major or a passion, something that you really love, because you are setting yourself up for the rest of your life. Maybe try to find an intern or a co-op. Try to get connections there prior to your senior year, so that when you graduate, that you've been in the field and you've met these people, and potentially, and in the future, they could help you, to find a job out of school. So
awesome, thank you. Daniella, you can go next.
Yeah, for me, it's simple. Find a mentor. So I never thought I would be teaching at a college, to be honest. And it sort of just happened because one of my Bucknell professors said, hey, there's somebody looking for a grad student, you should apply. And it's kind of like, it was like an offhand conversation. And I applied, and that wasn't never part of my plan. And then for my current position, I actually talked to yet another Bucknell professor, and he was like, you know what, you should really apply to this school. I think you would really enjoy it. And just having those connections, like being able to call up a teammate or an alum or somebody, that's really helped me tremendously in my career, and being able to, still be able to call them and say, listen, like, here's what's going on, or, I have questions. That to me really made such a big impact on where I'm at right now.
Thank you. Courtney, you can go next.
Yeah, Bucknell networking is a really powerful tool. We always talk about within this circle You know, the Bucknell swimming experience is unique. The Bucknell University experience is unique as well. And you'll find across many industries that Bucknellians want to talk to Bucknellians. If there's positions that you find interesting, you know, and you can find on LinkedIn or the Career Development Center, that there's a Bucknell alum with that agency or with that organization, it's always great to just reach out and get more information. Just being persistent. You know, I graduated at a time right after a recession. So being persistent was really key into trying to find a job post-graduation with limited, you know, work experience. So, you know, with your history of being a Bucknell swimmer, I have no doubt that you'll be persistent. So good luck to you.
Thank you so much. And I think last person, Jackie.
Yeah, so my advice would just be to be flexible and open-minded. Some opportunities may present themselves that weren't maybe exactly what you were looking for, but sometimes that leads you down the path that might be the best path for you. I know things I've done over the years maybe weren't exactly what I was looking for, but let's try this, and it leads to something else and kind of sets you up in a good spot. So I would just be open-minded, be flexible with what you want and what you're looking for, and just take advantage of opportunities. Like kind of like Lucky said, nothing you start in, you're not stuck there. So take advantage of the opportunities that come your way.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for the advice. I think I'm throwing it back to Dan for another question if there's time.
All right. Thank you, Maggie, and thank you again to everybody for that great advice. So we'll just check in with our timekeeper here, Todd. We good for one more? All right, we're going to get through everything. And so the last question, and I think it's a great one for this group, in that you're not only are you accomplished with great experiences, but the time frame is such that your experience as a swimmer and a student athlete at Bucknell, while there are always links, I think it closely still links to what our student athletes are currently experiencing. But on the other hand, you've had time, 10 plus years, to maybe reflect on what that experience and how it shaped you. And so kind of pulling that together, what advice do you have for me as head coach of the program and how we continue to move the program forward? So I'll start with Becca on this.
Well, I think a theme that we've heard today from all of us is what value there is in the camaraderie amongst the team, both women's and men's and together. So I think if you just continue to provide a place and space for the team to, be there for each other as a group, to build that camaraderie, to build the team spirit, I think when I was there, I really felt that was strong, and I'm sure it still is. But if you just continue to foster those team relationships and the encouragement between teammates, that we're all building towards a goal, that we celebrate individual successes as a group, that it's a group success. Every individual success is a group success. That you'll just continue to see these same calls over the years, the same feeling as people come out of the team with just this great memory of the camaraderie they had at Bucknell.
That's great. Thank you. Jackie, we'll let you can be next.
Sure. So my advice would be just to, and this really applies to all sports, but even though it's an individual sport and we work as a team, but just to keep in mind that it is a group of individuals and everyone kind of responds differently, reacts differently to things. Kind of a funny story that just popped in my head as I was saying this was my freshman year in Freeze Rook. Jerry Foley put me in lane 6 of, I believe it was the 200 free or the 100 fly or something, because he knew it would make me mad. So I'd swim faster. So, and then just thinking back to the race, I was like, he knew already like which button to hit to make me do better, then. So just little things, but just everyone's a little different, and kind of know what makes them perform at their best.
Thank you. That's a good story too. The little things that can get people going. So that's great. Molly, you can go next.
I'm muted. I think for me, definitely what was already said is, the tradition of Bucknell swimming, keeping those traditions going while you're still, helping to move the program forward. I came from a unique experience in that my father was also a very well-known coach, although I officially would not ever allow him to coach me. So in that sense, when I got to Bucknell, I was really looking for a coach, as everyone was saying, that could really kind of think about how to foster me as an individual amongst my teammates and figure out what kind of makes everyone tick. And I think Jerry Foley did a great job with that, as well as, again, fostering that team spirit. So, you know, that balance of keeping, you know, that program together through their, you know, rich traditions and as a team, as well as just making sure that you're able to identify what each of those individual swimmers need to keep them going in the program for 4 years, you know, and those long seasons from September to March, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Megan, you can go next.
So I guess the most important advice I could give you kind of goes back to the recruiting process. And that's, you know, your recruits that come in, it's being able to really tap into their potential, to see their potential, and not only the potential, but their desire to want to succeed. So you might have a recruit come in that you say, oh, you know, they're not super fast or they have a terrible stroke, but being able to see that desire for them to get better through the 4 years. And I guess that really rings true with me just because of where I started, and Coach Foley really, he did see my potential. So I think that's important to kind of see their desire and see that they're able to succeed in the program. And I also second team spirit. I think that's really, really important. Really camaraderie and keeping the men's and women's team together as a whole unit.
Definitely. Thank you. Jamie, you're up next.
Well, one of the interesting things I think about the coaching staff when we were there, it was just a very diverse melting pot of individuals. And we had Jerry and Sandy and Kathleen and Judson, and everybody was different, and everybody brought something different to the table. And I guess I could recommend to you to keep that in mind as, you know, you're looking for assistant coaches or, you know, talking about assistants. Not every coach relates to every athlete the same way. And I think having that diverse mix of coaches really brought out the best in everybody in different aspects. So, and you can relate to different people different ways. So keeping those different personalities surrounding yourself is very advantageous. And again, having those teams operate as a cohesive unit. I mean, that was just so important to me. I remember, you know, being in a lane with boys and just trying to keep up, and it made me better. And I think that, and it's just a very neat experience to have that training group with men's and women's in the same pool.
All right, thank you. Lexi, you can go next.
Everybody keeps taking what I'm going to say. But I think what I was going to say, Dan, is that as the head coach, don't feel like you have to connect with each and every one of your athletes, because there are assistant coaches. And just like Jamie said, that you might not mesh well with one athlete, but an assistant might really mesh well. It doesn't mean that you're not the head coach. It just means that they might have a better way of connecting with that particular athlete, and they might be able to get the best out of them better. And having that, you know, like Jamie said, that diverse staff is really important, because as individuals, we're not the same. We all don't function the same. Like, yes, we're working towards the same goal in the end, but we all get there differently. And the other thing I think that's really important, and it sounds like it's still happening, is just keeping those traditions alive. I mean, I think that's awesome that you guys still do the candle light before you swim against Navy. That's phenomenal, and it's something that, like, you'll remember forever.
Thank you. Daniella.
Tough to follow up on this. I think being a good listener is really critical. I think just having the door open for people to be able to come in and just be themselves. I think that's really, really important. because I think everybody will do better if they can be their true authentic self. And college is hard to begin with, and having that door open, I think is really critical for folks.
Yeah, no, this is great advice and just great reminders and great things to always keep in mind. So I really appreciate it. Courtney, you got the pressure of being the last word here.
Well, this was a hard topic for me because I did have you for 4 years at Bucknell. So I just think, one of the things I saw you grow as a coach when I was there, and I know that is still happening, is just the ability to adjust the workouts towards your swimmers. I was an injured swimmer coming in, and I was a pure sprinter. And over the course of those 4 years, the success that we had as a group really came from the diversity of your workouts and the different types of sets that you would have me do. You really saw the potential that I had with the weight room and trying to do different sets, with the male sprinters. And it made it a lot more fun for me too. The freshman year, trying to keep up with everybody on the distance sets was a bit difficult for me. But over the course of those 4 years, I really felt like we all thrived as individuals because our workouts, were more catered to how we succeeded. So I think that was really important.
Great, thank you. And thank you to all of you. And so this has just been wonderful. Great advice for Maggie, great advice for me, great advice for anybody listening, as well as a lot of great memories from people that, did accomplish a whole heck of a lot and had a lot of great experiences in their 4 years. So we appreciate you taking time to relive those with us. And so thank you. And I turn it back to you now, Todd.
Well, thanks, Coach. And I just want to start my closing comments and direct them to Maggie. And Maggie, once again, thanks for taking the time out tonight to be on the call with us. You've had a great career thus far at Bucknell. And I know every day is a different day during these times, and it brings different news for you as a student athlete here at Bucknell. And I can't imagine going through what you guys are going through, but you're doing it in the best of ways and keeping those positive spirits. And I do believe Bucknell is supposed to host Patriots this year. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. You'll be in that pool behind me, and Bucknell will be doing some damage at the Patriot League Swimming and Diving Championship. So good luck to you and your teammates this semester. And then to the alums, thanks, ladies, so much again for taking the time out tonight. Thanks for everything you've done, both while you swam here at Bucknell and were a member of the Orange and Blue, and maybe more importantly, what you've done for the program since you all graduated. It's great to see you've all had so much success and everybody's doing well. And I really want to thank you for your support of the program. I talk to every donor and every family and every parent and every current student athlete I can and tell them they don't have facilities like the one behind me without the support of our alumni. So thank you for all that you've done for Bucknell and the Bucknell swimming program. And then for those of you that tuned in tonight at home to watch, thank you for doing so, and go Bison.